Next, we are going to be tackling the F. Now, a capital F is possibly a little complicated for you. We are going to take it nice and slow. Once I've done one, I'm going to zoom in on my work a little bit more so you can see it up close and personal. For a capital F, I actually start in the middle of the header. I start in the middle of the header and I curve out and pull down, and I actually pull down into the footer before curving out and coming up to form a little like dot there. Then I'm going to go back to the middle of my X space, starting on the left hand side of my X, or of my line that I've drawn. I'm going to curve up, across the line, out, and pull down just a little. And that's the middle of my F. The last step to finish an F, I'm actually going to start midway in my header. I'm going to pull down and curve out, go back up, travel across, and curve up. And that is an F. Okay, now I want to zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit more. And zoom in one more time for you. Okay, and let's do it again. Just getting a little more ink on my pen. I'm going to start in the middle of my header. I'm going to curve out just a smidge, pull down all the way to the footer, curve up, and end by making a little dot. Next, on the left side of that line I just drew, I'm going to draw a line across my first line, curve up, and pull down just a smidge. Then, I'm going to go on the left side of that line that I drew, start in the middle of my header, pull down and curve out, travel up into the header, go across, and then curve up. Let's do that again, shall we? I'm going to start midway in my header. I'm going to curve out just a smidge before pulling down into the footer, curving out and back up, and in a little dot. Then I'm going to start on the left-hand side of that center line, middle of the X space, push across that center line, curve up, pull down just a little. Then I'm going to go on the left-hand side, start in the middle of my header, pull down, curve out, push back up, travel across that center line. I'm going to dip down just a little bit and push back up. That is an F. Now my slant hasn't been great here. I need to work a little harder on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus more on my slant that time. Start in the middle of my header, curve out and pull down. I really want to make sure I pull down at that slant. That's better. Curve up into the footer, end in a little dot. I'm going to put a skinny line across the middle of my X space. Curve up, pull down a smidge. Then I'm going to start in the middle of my header. Pull down and curve out. Head back up. Travel across the header. And curve up at the end. You can actually see my F's getting better there, so that's kind of cool, seeing that improvement in real time. Let's do that one more time, shall we? Grabbing more ink. Start in the middle of the header. Curve out, pull down, make sure you pull down at that slant. Curve in the footer and pull up, end in a little dot. Left-hand side of that center line. Skinny line across the middle of the X space. Curve up, pull down a smidge. Then, middle of the header on the left-hand side. Pull down and curve out. Skinny line across the header. And finish with a little curve upward. That is a capital F. Go ahead and practice it across the whole line. Then, when you're ready, come back to do the lowercase f. I'm going to zoom out so you can see what we're working with here. Here's a lowercase f. A little bit simpler. Getting more ink. I'm going to start in the middle of my X. See, we all make mistakes. Start in the middle of my X. Curve up into my header space. Pull down into the footer. Curve around and up, end it in a little dot. Then in the middle of my X, I start on the left-hand side, do a skinny line across, and curve up. Very, very, very simple. Let's try that again. Start in the middle of my X space. Push upward into the header, curve, pull down through the X into my footer, curve up in the footer, and that curve in a little dot. Then I'm going to move to the left-hand side of that line. Skinny, slightly wavy line across. That's it. Let's do that one more time. Start in the middle of my X space. Curve up into the header. Pull down into the footer. Curve and end in a dot. Then in the middle of my X, I'm going to do a skinny, curved line across. That's it. I'm going to pay a little more attention to my slant this time. Start in the middle of my X, push up, pull down all the way into the footer, curve and end in a dot. Then I'm going to do a skinny line across. Kind of lost the loop that time. Let's try it again. Start in the middle of my X, curve up, pull down all the way to the footer, curve, end in a dot, then a skinny, slightly wavy line across that line. Let's do that one last time. Start in the middle of my X, curve up into the header, pull down, end in an outward curve, end it with a dot, then do a skinny line across that line you drew. Go ahead and practice those lowercase f's all the way across that entire line, and you can move on to the next video.